Okay, so here we go. Let's start out here. I tried to do this a long time ago, but it wouldn't load. So in light, everyone's gonna think I'm after, but I was doing this before. So here's my Mike Campbell hat. This is actually my hat, cooler than his. I had hey, and who would this be? The guy that lives in St. Louis. No, I mean not St. Louis, but in Ohio. Yeah, I'm just gonna get some teach yourself books out and go through all those. My coyote class. Anyway, so this is actually a response directly to Benny, the Irish polyglot, about his what is linguistics, which has obviously been spurned from me making headway against the people who want to call themselves linguists while they aren't, which would be Steve Coffin continuously tells himself that he's a linguist and says that to everyone who will listen, and other people do too, dredging it up that it's in the dictionary. That's the source there, boys. You really don't know anything, do you? Okay, so I'm going to go through this because there's a lot of things to cover because Benny starts off with saying that it is a science and that it's a discipline and you have to have credentials to be a linguist. Yes, that's true. But then he starts doing his left-handed compliments and doesn't understand the field of linguistics because it's a huge field. And then once again then the other people start coming in with a very specious analogy about a sports writer and an athlete. Totally incorrect, okay? The way that linguists like to use their analogy linguists like to use a lot is the difference between someone who is an accountant doesn't mean that that accountant has a lot of money, although he works with a lot of money and works with a lot of denominations, different types of currency around the world, and knows how to do a lot of things with them. Doesn't actually mean that he may have a lot of money. Now, I'm going to go through this step by step because there's a lot of garbage going on. Number one, there's a lot of people who want to say, well, we're polyglots, and polyglots are people who are linguists. No, they're not. Now, the biggest problem right here is using this term polyglot. Yes, I'm well aware of other languages, polyglotta, using the term. But in English, you should be using multilingual. Now, there's not a problem because when somebody comes up to you and says, I'm multilingual, you don't think, hey, this guy's a linguist, do you? No, you don't. So you should switch to the term multilingual. It's a lot more descriptive. It's been used a lot longer. It's been used in education. It's been used in language policy and planning, which these guys don't know about either. Now, so switch the term to multilingual. Start calling yourself multilingual, all right? We're trying to use this wannabe, sounds cool Greek etymology. Anyway, so that is one of the problems. And the next problem is that they want to automatically assume that linguistics has only to do with two things. One is second language acquisition, which is one small field, and the other part is basically they've dealt with TESOL people teaching English as a second language or to speakers of other languages. Depends. There's a lot of variations there. Now, a lot of those people do not know. You're right. Those people, those TESOL people, are the overwhelming majority are monolingual English speakers, but they're not linguists, although they want to say they're applied linguists. They're not really, because they don't have a whole lot of linguistics background. The reality about applied linguistics can be anything, okay? Linguistics is a huge field. Applied linguistics can be computational linguistics, machine language, which is originally what computational linguistics is. Artificial intelligence is also from linguistics. The Google search algorithms are from linguists. That's applied to. Now, the field, my background is overwhelmingly in linguistics is from a field linguistics perspective, although that's not what I'm doing now, and it's not what I like the best. Field linguists are, without a doubt, polyglots. It just doesn't happen. And they can do something that I challenged Steve Kaufman and Moses Malone, why do I keep saying it? Moses McCormick, to do, which they can't do. And I'm going to attack this with their specious reasoning. Number one, people were saying, you know, Moses likes to learn these esoteric, arcane, exotic languages, how Steve was putting. No, he doesn't. He likes to learn non-pragmatic languages that he can't use in the milieu that he's in. So he goes around, he says something to somebody, and they're shocked that he can speak 5 words of the language just like a little kid, and then he gets some feedback thing and he's doing really well. You're not living in the environment. You know, what was he? My favorite one was him doing Icelandic. Why doesn't he move to the Sahara and learn Inuit? All right, he's got nowhere to use it. So these are non-pragmatic languages. So people were saying, hey, if he wants to learn a language that has no practical use, go ahead and do it. So then I called out Steve and Moses. Okay, let's see how great you are at your language learning ability. Let's see you learn a language that has no script, because they can't do it, because they don't have the tool set. They don't have what it takes. They don't have field linguistic skills. They don't know how to detail and describe the phonology of a language. They don't know how to describe the grammar. It's called a phonology sketch and a grammar sketch, and there's a lot more that goes into it. And a grammar, you people are probably, without linguistics backgrounds, are thinking of prescriptive. It is not, and I've covered this in a lot of other videos that I've talked about. I'm not going to go into it in detail. I'm not going to go into phonology. Where Steve has also got his head up his ass is when he said, hey, linguistics is not as hard science. Yes, it is, Steve. You're really confused on this, because phonology is as hard as it gets. It's physics, and dealing with computational linguistics and algorithms, it is science. It is a hard science. So you've proven, Steve, that you're anti-intellectual and you don't know what you're talking about. So whatever you say now is contaminated, because you've proven you don't know what linguistics is about, because that's one little area of linguistics. It's a huge area. You also don't know about cognitive linguistics, the way that people arrange the world, how they think through a language, which has basically been found from Lakoff to be through metaphor. And what are the metaphors that are prevalent in each society? What are the ways that things are done? You can go look up all this information on your own. Once again, I'm not giving out free university classes. I'm pointing you to the fact that these people who are talking don't know what they're talking about. Benny doesn't know anything about conceptual linguistics. He doesn't know about cognitive linguistics. He doesn't know about psycholinguistics, which I've seen somebody post a thing about psycholinguistics, but they were at an undergrad, not done with their undergrad level, and they were just kind of babbling. So let me set you straight on something here. Now, to say that you're an undergrad and you're talking about linguistics is about the same as saying you're an undergrad in psychology and you're a psychologist. You are not. You don't know enough. You haven't gone deep enough. You're just scratching the surface. You're still doing survey courses. You're still getting the breadth of the entire area. It's too big. The field is too huge. You have to be specific. Just like Arguelles is a philologist who knows about etymology and about the historical ramifications of the language. That's his field. He doesn't know, for example, other aspects that people do. He doesn't know the phonology of a language, really. He doesn't know how to detail a grammar sketch, things like that. That's nothing against him. That's just, he focused on one aspect, and other people focus on another. So getting back to this, I challenged Steve and Moses to both learn a language with no script. So what did their little sycophants come back with? Well, those languages, like in Papua New Guinea, which has the most languages of any on the square mile percentage in the planet, they're worthless. Isn't that what you just try to use as a defense, that it's okay for Moses to learn worthless languages? But when I prove to you that they cannot learn these languages because they're incapable of dealing with a language that has no script, with no books, no textbooks, no tourist books, no phrase books, nothing, they can't do it. Field linguists can. Now, to get back onto Benny about something he was saying, and that a lot of the people were chiming in with because they don't know linguistics, is the fact that to get into most linguistics programs as a graduate student, you have to prove that you're fluent in at least one other language. The program I was in is exactly that way. You had to come in and prove that you were fluent. Fluent. What was fluent? Fluent was 3+ on the FSI DLI. So there wasn't any warbling around with that. And in our thing, it had to be a living language. You couldn't use any dead languages. I don't know why, but that was one of their stipulations. So As Amir, the Central Asian guy who looks a little bit Uzbeki, Pakistani, Kazakhstani, you need to get to the gym, Amir. You look like a toothpick, okay? Just gonna help you out, brother, because you don't, what are you, 52 kilos? You got to do something about that. But as he was trying to say his little parody, which is fine, it's no big deal, that I don't know other languages. Yes, I do. I know quite a few other languages, actually. And the thing that I can do that Steve or none of you guys who want to call yourself polyglots, start calling yourself multilinguals can do, is I can take that language apart. And I know how it works, and I can see what it's doing. While you guys are still trying to babble about your ideas of prescriptive grammar and looking at it this way or looking at it that way, you don't know. The same thing I was talking about with the diglossia in the Philippines with Tagalog. The people who were talking on the forum didn't know a thing about diglossia. They were saying that Filipino, which is Tagalog, is dying because they don't even know, because they don't have a social linguistics background. So once again, all of these things equate to having a degree, having a scientific, rigorous background. So when I say to people, I don't want to hear your opinions because I don't care about your opinions. Because guess what? People have this thing, they think because they're breathing air and they're able to move forward, that suddenly that they're experts on psychology, philosophy, fighting, and languages. Those things you constantly find people doing. Now, if I drop your ass into a ring, you're going to get your ass knocked out with your little theories. If I drop you into a war zone against some spec op guys, you're going to be killed. Okay? So you can have your little theories, and then this same thing happens here. You think you know what you're talking about with languages, but you don't because you haven't even observed anything. You can't prove anything. You don't even know how to do an empirical study. And then Benny chiding along with his sort of little things like his experiential stuff. Who cares, Benny? Let's try that in engineering. Let's talk about I had an experience once of this truss, this beam actually held the weight of the swimming pool on the 15th floor. Okay, yeah, that's going to work, isn't it? No, not going to work. Same thing with linguistics. If you don't have hard science behind you and data to prove it, validated studies, you got nothing. So what I'm saying here is that the people who have said, yeah, there's a difference, but then they want to slight it, trying to give it's like thinking that all linguists are concerned with languages, speaking, learning, that they're multilingual. That's the aim of linguists. It is not the aim of linguists. You don't even know what the aim of linguists are. That's how confused you sad little poor children are. You don't even know what linguists do. And then Benny's saying, yes, I hang out with linguists. Really, I'd like to know their names. I'd like to know where they did their degrees. I'd like to know what their field is. Some of the people that posted on his forum that's saying that they were linguists, suddenly they didn't include where they went to school, which that's not so important, but what they did at school, what sort of linguists they are, and then people saying they were undergrad linguists, it doesn't cut it, it's not the same. It's not the same. And then Benny trying to do some sort of specious argument that linguists cannot be language teachers. Yes, but you little multilingual hackneyed guys who can't observe empirical paradigms can obviously be teachers, right? How does that work? Prove to me how that works. Actually, a lot of people who are in linguistics end up teaching in some form or another. Now, like I have a huge amount of undergraduate degrees, and some of those are in education, and I am certified teacher. So I do know, plus I've done a lot of other things. I've done accelerated learning. And somebody was also decrying Stu J because he and I both use Bander and Grinder's neurolinguistic programming, and that little idiot, wasn't it, that guy from Australia trying to run it down because he doesn't have credentials in any of these things. So once again, the best way is to try to tear it down by yelling really loudly. That really works, doesn't it? You have to prove that it doesn't work, which you can't. But anyway, so the point being that yes, linguists are far better qualified to be language teachers than you hackneyed multilingual guys who've had your experiences sleeping on somebody's couch. Okay. Now, also to validate this one step further, when the FSI program, the DLI program from the Army Lingual School in the United States was created, and also it went to some universities, how this ran was a linguist constructed the program. Why? Because he knew the language. He knew the components of the language. He knew what was going to be the stumbling points for an L1 English speaker. He controlled how it was structured. Then they had native speakers who would follow what he said to do. And those gained a lot of results. Now, once again, back to Steve, because Steve all he wants to do is talk about his capitalistic endeavors. He doesn't remember anything. Alzheimer's drugs, Steve. Alzheimer's drugs. Okay, nootropics. Get on some nootropics. Yeah. And the fact is, it's worked. There's a great track record with it, and these people are trying to say things they have not been to. The people I've met that've been to DLI and the people I've met that've been to FSI, they never say the stupid things I hear the sycophants for Steve and other people saying, because they know it works and they know the level is so high. Once you go through that sort of intensive structure, anything else is easy. There's a guy that I'm going to post up that is an Arabic speaker, and he guaranteed, he doesn't say, I guarantee he's DLI because he's so high level. Guaranteed. He's good, though. I mean, he's good for DLI, though, also. He's not just good and going to DLI. He's good for DLI. But anyway, the point here being that linguists are totally different than you multilinguals. To be a linguist in most fields, you have to be multilingual. Now, the people who work only with English, no, not always. People like David Crystal, the world's leading authority on English, is not really multilingual. He's looked at some other languages, but he focuses on English. The people who do certain aspects of text analysis stay with their language because text analysis is very detailed. You really have to know the language very well, or text or a discourse analysis. People who work with conversational analysis also do that sort of thing. Now, the people who work with speech recognition, no, they're multilingual, most. And they also have a hard grounding in, all sorts of phonetics, acoustic and also machine-driven study of phonetics, and they know phonology inside and out. Okay, now that's applied. Now, those people definitely are multilingual because they have to look at what's phonemically good, distinctive. I'm trying to not pick so many terms that you won't know. That's what I hedge all the time, which reminds me, that some of these things I've mentioned to Mike Campbell, but he didn't pick up on parts of it. But anyway, the point being is that a linguist is not someone who calls himself a linguist any more than you can go around calling yourself a healer. But does that mean that you're a neurosurgeon? Hell no. Hell no, boy. Hell no. If you want to do some brain surgery, you think they're going to let you? I'm a healer. I got some good ideas. I had some experience. I watched somebody operate a damn pig once. I can do it. That's the same sort of stupidity coming from you morons out there about multilinguals who think that they're linguists. So get your facts straight. You multilinguals are not linguists. Many linguists are multilingual, and get it straight and quit trying to decry it and say, hey, we're better. We're polyglots. We're actually doing what they hope to do. No, you're not. They're doing things you can't hope to begin to do. They're taking apart language you don't even know, absolute ergative. You don't even know about evidentials. You don't even know about politeness particles. You don't, there's so much, I could go on and on. You don't know about how this is an aspectual marker, or how this is how it's encoded for time, or this is how this is encoded for mutually exclusive or mutually exclusive, or speaker inclusive or speaker exclusive. Those things don't exist in English, so you're confused. You also are very confused with things that are not SVO in the typology, which is just one of the things. And this is where I was going with Mike Campbell, because he's confused about the tone thing. He doesn't. His IPA is not IPA, and he's left out stress and syllable boundaries in his work, which is you can't do if you're doing that for real as a linguist. And he was saying something he's going to do super segment. Well, he's talking about super segmental inflection contours. I mean, he's just missing some basic components. But the point being is he's a guy who's read a lot, but he's still not a linguist. That's what I'm getting to. He's read a lot, but he's got missing chunks. So nothing wrong with that. He can cure it if he actually goes to school and applies himself. That's up to him if he wants to do it or not. Whatever excuses he comes with are on him, as they say in the military. Now, the fact, I hope that you got it so far in your brain that these multilinguals are not linguists. Linguists, most are multilingual, and the goal, the objective, the end result for a linguist is not to be multilingual. That is not what we're trying to do. That's not what people are doing in computational linguistics. That's not what they're doing when they're putting new search algorithms up. Nothing like that. So anyway, I'm going to cut it here because this is a long one. So you heard it from me. If Benny didn't post my thing, that's probably normal because he's not posted some of my other things. Because he's got to be the hero of his domain, just like Steve does. You know, what an incestuous group you are.